podcast number 41, where we're going to be getting some first impressions of the Xbox Series X and talking about Watch Dogs Legion and Genshin Impact. I'm your co-host, Andy, here with...
Brent, Arcadia. Hi.
Hi. How you doing, Brent?
Oh, I'm swell. Been playing the new Xbox for a few days. In a good mood. Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I've been playing Cook Serve Delicious for a few days, which is, I think, on par as exciting, Cook Serve Delicious 3, as the Xbox Series X. So,
does it have ray tracing?
Oh, I think he traced some of the artwork.
Okay.
From pictures of from cookbooks, would be my guess.
Oh,
so yeah,
okay.
Kind of.
Okay. Well, that
Why don't you
that
tell
sounds
us about
less
this
interesting.
Xbox thing?
Yeah. Yeah, so I got a Series X, came out yesterday as of recording, I think, if I have my days straight. Been playing Watch Dogs Legion, Yakuza Like a Dragon, or Yakuza 7, and a little bit of Tetris Connected. And yeah, there's certain things that really stand out as next gen, and then there's certain things that are sort of like very grounding as far as we've come technologically. Like, yeah, there's only so much more we can go before games have to look really weird or way too uncanny valley hyper realistic. but yeah, so I've been playing mostly Watch Dogs Legion. They updated that with 4K 60 frames per second and ray tracing, and honestly, it's beautiful. And I'll talk about the game later on in the show, but it's really, really beautiful when you get to float around London at night and just like look at all the beautiful bridges, the Eye of London. It's something else. And I bought it originally on the One X so that I had like some sort of true concept of the leap. And honestly, it wasn't a tremendous leap. Graphically, visually, is sort of nuanced. Like, you really have to look for like these beautiful lighting effects, and like you have to know, like, you have to sort of train your eye to be able to even tell the difference between 1080p and 4K. Most people from 10, 12 feet back can't tell a difference, right? So it's
not like that experience you get going into Best Buy when they've got the TVs set up with that 5-minute clip, montage of flowers and football games.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all running at like 240 fucking hertz or something, and it's like, this is too smooth. This is uncomfortable. No, but
so not that then.
Not quite that, but I guess the console can handle up to 120 frames per second. My TV doesn't support 120, so it doesn't matter for me much. But yeah, otherwise, some quick hits. The quick resume feature is very cool, but right now it only works on half of the Series X games. It apparently works on all of the backwards compat games, and so what quick resume is essentially it'd be sort of like having like 5 different games running on your PC and then minimizing 4 of them and just playing one at a time and then re-maximizing it. Not that fast. It still takes like 10 seconds or so.
This is something that has to be added. Do you know if it's something that the developer has to do to make it compatible with quick resume? Is it something that has to be done per game?
As far as I know, it's considered a bug on the games that don't currently support it, because it's the entire backwards compat library now, which is like 1,000+ games, and most of the current Series X optimized games. So I was definitely disappointed in that, because obviously I tried it out immediately with Watch Dogs in the middle of a mission. It's like, yeah, I can't wait to see this in action. Just booted up Tetris Connect, played a couple rounds, and then went back to Watch Dogs Legion, and it restarted the game. And I was like, wait, I was in the middle of a mission. No! So I looked it up, and I was bummed to hear that Watch Dogs Legions, of course, was one of the 5 games. And the other one's fucking Yakuza, so the 2 main games I've been playing, of course. But
of course.
Yeah. But apparently Assassin's Creed Valhalla it works with that. I've seen videos of it working with like larger games like Red Dead and Grand Theft Auto on backwards compat. So once it's working, it will be a very, very awesome feature to have moving forward.
Yeah, it kind of seemed like one of the killer features for them this gen was that idea of having that many games going at a time.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really curious to see what PlayStation does to sort of compete with like features like that. Like the features I'm really interested in with the PlayStation are like the super haptic feedback in the controller. I'm hearing that's actually really wonderful to use. I'm very curious about it. But otherwise, like new feature wise, I really haven't heard too much out of the PS5. Like you're pretty much expecting like what you got last gen, which is, you know, incredible games, which is what it's supposed to do, but not much marked improvement from generation to generation, like hardware and feature wise on the console itself.
Well, but that's kind of been their thing, hasn't it?
Which part?
I mean, they haven't had a lot of huge new features at the console or, you know, console OS level from 3 on. Like it's you don't have people talking about what goes on outside of the games, other than I guess people talking about PSN.
Yeah, they have made improvements to PSN, but I mean nobody really talks about PSN in the same breath they do with like Xbox Live.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't using PS4 as my daily driver, but it seemed like they had a good grasp on like organization, like events and stuff. And honestly, their community hub is better, but that's all basically design. That's not really features. So
right.
That's why I'm hoping that maybe they've been holding back on information on the new consoles, and we'll hear more about it when it actually releases. But I mean, I'm not really holding my breath on that one.
How does the controller feel? I've heard the D-pad is clicky, which I'm excited about.
The D-pad's very clicky. The whole controller is kind of more clicky. The trigger buttons are a little bit tougher to pull. So you get a bit more resistance, which feels really good for shooters, because that's one of the worst things is having to go like up and down. It like kind of works out your finger in the wrong ways. So that and the new grips on the back are my favorite thing. It sort of feels almost like a plastic sandpaper. Like you really get a good grip on the bad boy. It's smaller, it's more lightweight than the old one, and it has a share button now, which literally is like it's one tap, take a screenshot, hold down, take a video. Pretty simple, but honestly, like once they removed the Kinect, it became really hard on the Xbox to like do all of these social things, because with the Kinect you usually be like Xbox record that or Xbox screenshot that and Xbox, you know, upload it or whatever the fuck else. But then when they took it out, you had to double click on the Xbox button and then hit X or hit Y, and by that time like it wasn't really at the exact same point where you wanted it to record, so you might not get the right recording. So it became kind of stanky, but this new share button seems very handy, honestly.
And how open is it with the places that you can share it to?
It, as far as I know from the actual console, not too many. I think you can tweet it out, but that might also be PlayStation. I may not be the right guy to answer this, but if you access anything from your cell phone app, which obviously isn't part of the console itself, it's a different thing, but you can access all of that stuff from your phone and then do any normal sharing that you would do with any photo on your phone. Post it to Instagram, Twitter, etc., etc.
Okay, because I think like to the share button on the Switch and how functionally useless that is for trying to get the stuff that you want to share off of there.
Yeah, I forgot that had that, but I know exactly what you mean.
I think that what are your options are like Facebook and Twitter, and that's it.
Yeah, and obviously like you have to be connected to Wi-Fi, which most of the time when I'm using a Switch, I'm not.
Yeah, so yeah, it's not great.
Yeah.
So is it a buy for you? Would you say that this has so far been a worthwhile experience? You've been enjoying it enough?
I like it enough, but I'm mainly in the Xbox ecosystem, so I'm already doing everything I was doing before, but it's objectively better. So that's worth the price of entry for me. For a lot of people, I think they're gonna see that there's not really any big killer apps on the console yet, and like even Cyberpunk could have been that, because I know Xbox has a marketing deal with them, so they're going to be shucking it pretty hard. Even if whenever they can, yeah. So it really depends on how people are using it. If you're the type of person that only plays 5 games a year and that game's not out yet, you don't deal with the the low supplies right now. It's too stressful, too much of a pain in the ass. It was hard for me to get one, and I had fucking like 4 alarms set. It was just too much. But when that game comes out, I think this is a great console. Whatever game you want to play on it.
So you think this is going to be your daily driver going forward?
Well, yeah, this is the only next-gen console I have so far. I'll get the PS5 sooner or later when it's back in stock and et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I'm mainly going to be using this probably daily, and it's good. It's good at what it does, for sure.
Does it have Game Pass already ready to go on there? Like, how's the Game Pass selection?
Yeah, it's all on there. Honestly, one of the coolest things I think I've ever done with a console was unplug my external hard drive from my 1X and plug it into the Series X, and it just worked. TM, literally. I plugged it in, and then I booted up the Division 2 the other day and played with some friends.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, we're not going to talk about Division 2 now. That'll bum us all out. Yeah, it was very impressive that worked. That's to me is a next gen feature, because like backwards compatibility obviously was a thing last gen to like a lesser limited degree, and now it's just like a PC. It's like you own that game, you have it installed on this hard drive. That hard drive is formatted for Windows OS. You can play it. Like, simple.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty good system.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the future, thank God.
We finally made it.
The past was not great. Oh, and the SSD I haven't mentioned is just amazing. It's like cut down load speeds by like a quarter. We did a quick test with Sea of Thieves just to see the load times.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was very come on, man. You're bumming everyone out. And yeah, it was substantially faster. It looked amazing in 4K, 60 frames per second. So even in like games that are a little bit older now, like the fidelity updates that they're doing for them are sharp and very noticeable side by side.
You're still getting that kind of that feeling of, if not next gen in the visuals of the game, at least like I'm clearly on a better machine with better hardware, better optimized.
Yeah, exactly. And while there's not a lot of like quality of life improvements for the individual games themselves, like we've seen in the past, everything's working a bit more well oiled. So hopefully that leads to better technological advances, especially when like Unreal 5 starts running. It's gonna be a nice time for gamers.
Ooh, yeah, Unreal 5. I forgot about that demo.
Yeah. Or whatever the hell Square's new engine is. They may or may not ever actually use, other than for Kingsglaive.
Oh, right, Kingsglaive. Man, you're throwing all sorts of terms at me that I just completely forgotten about.
Oh, Kingsglaive, that's a deep cut. They made a whole movie in that engine that they demoed once, and it was beautiful, but it looked weird, and it was very clearly like a game engine.
Which movie was that? Do you remember?
It was the Final Fantasy 15... I don't even know what to describe it. It sort of happens during the events of Final Fantasy 15. But
I don't think I've seen that one. I saw a couple of the Final Fantasy movies, and
it's one of the more missable ones. I watched it because I was really into 15, and I was like, well, I like this more than I thought I would. Time to watch the movie. And in the context of the game, it was all right. If you don't care for the game or don't care about watching the movie at this point, don't watch it. Simply do not.
That seems like good advice.
Yeah. But yeah, that pretty much covers it. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more as I've been using it for more than a day and a half, 2 days.
Yeah. But that's good to get that kind of impression from someone who's got firsthand experience. And
yeah,
I mean, that's all that I can say. As firsthand experience, I don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of this information, obviously, in like previews and stuff, but it's
Sure.
very different getting it hands-on. And nobody was talking about Quick Resume not working, so I definitely wanted to note that. At least not working 100%.
You're the first person I've seen mention it, so either I'm not doing a very good job keeping up with the news, which is entirely possible, or it's not being as widely reported, and so obviously is some kind of deep state conspiracy that you and I have uncovered here. And we'll be accepting your Pulitzer anytime.
Yeah, well, Once we start journalizing everything we do, well, I'm sure we'll be Pulitzing as well.
Does it count if I just post about this on my Zanga?
If you can still access your Zanga, then yes, I think so.
Damn it. Well, I don't think I can get up my Hotmail account anymore, so I'm not going to be able to reset that password.
Oh, man.
It's just really taking you back.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they shut down Hotmail. Is that really still a thing? Every once in a while.
Yeah, I think if you had a Hotmail email, you can migrate it over to Outlook, but you still can keep your Hotmail email.
Oh, that's one of those like prestige emails.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like me having Brent@gmail.com.
Yeah. Ooh, that's very nice. Now everyone knows how to get at you.
There you go. It's not my real email.
Sure it isn't.
Hey, should we talk about Genshin Impact in our showcase?
Oh, right. The thing that we're here to do.
We didn't have news this week, right? Just that? I've already forgotten.
No, I think that was basically it. I tried very lazily to talk about Cook Serve Delicious 3 and find a way to shoehorn a minute of me talking about how fun of a game that is, but I couldn't find a good segue into that, so I don't know how I would ever...
Is it on Series X?
Organically
or PS5?
Work that in. No, it's on PC, so I just don't think I'm going to get a chance to mention how much fun Cook Serve Delicious 3 is or that it's available now for anyone who wants to play it. I don't see any easy transition there.
You know what they really need is a PC 2.
If PC was so good, they would have made a second one by now.
Exactly. The proof's in the pudding. Think about it.
Yeah. Genshin Impact, on the other hand, Genshin Impact is an interesting little thing. And it's not little, it's very large. It is a free-to-play game available on just about everywhere, except possibly Xbox currently.
I don't think it is on Xbox, no.
But it is on PS4. It is on Android and iOS. It's on Windows. It's coming out for Switch and PS5 some point in the future. I'm guessing that you guys on Xbox will get a chance to play it eventually. I don't know why you wouldn't. It's a open world... How do you explain this game? It's an open world RPG, and it plays almost like you took a bunch of talented people and explained Breath of the Wild to them and what the appeal of Breath of the Wild was, and then told them to make a Dragon Questy RPG or something. Like, it's got a lot of that kind of running around exploration, climbing up walls with stamina meters and things like that, and it feels very Breath of the Wild-y at times, but other times it is basically just kind of like hack and slashy combat that is very... it's much more in the... Because you have a party of 4 people that you can switch between. And they each have elemental powers that can combo and build off each other. So there's a lot of... And I can't think of... I'm sure there's games you might know better than I do, but ones where you're constantly swapping out who you're playing as. All right, switch to this guy, do this attack, then switch to this guy, and then do this buff, which will buff this next guy's attack, and kind of building off each other like that.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit like Final Fantasy 12, maybe.
Okay, maybe. But that's kind of the general loop of it. You go around trying to find more people, more weapons. It's got your standard systems of cooking things and crafting weapons and upgrading your weapons and upgrading your persons and building up your adventure rank and all of those different systems upon systems upon systems upon systems that you find in this style of RPG. But it's a free-to-play game. And that's what interested me so much in it. Because I don't... On its own, if this had cost like $10-15, I wouldn't have really been interested at all. But the idea that this was a game, and I saw a couple of videos that looked impressive, just for video, for graphics and gameplay-wise, I was very intrigued by it. And it is a remarkable free-to-play game. It's just for what you can do. This feels like you're playing a AA game, or even a AAA game from a AA company.
Okay.
Like the controls are extremely responsive. The animations are really smooth. Everything. I haven't encountered a single bug in the entire time I've played.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know, right? The load times are good. The character creation is or a character's not creation, character design. There we go. Character design is all, the characters are all unique. They don't feel like they're made up of a bunch of copy paste things of like, all right, here's a body and it's got hair A and eyes C and mouth J. Like, it all feels like a real game, but it's free.
But it's free. So, do you feel like the game's been trying to wring you out at all for money?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's an insane, because it's a gacha game.
Yeah.
Which is, for those who aren't aware, gacha games are ones where you are collecting through randomized drops or randomized loot boxes items and characters that have different ranks. And you're trying to get usually like an S rank or a 5-star character or item. And that's what you really want. And the only way to get that is to keep earning in-game currency to buy more loot boxes to open and spin the wheel to try and get another one.
Swell.
Which is very common in free-to-play games and in not free-to-play games. Unfortunately. So this is very much a gacha game. The weapons, everything is kind of geared around this system, but it doesn't feel intrusive. It's definitely there, and you definitely feel it, but because it doesn't have the garish, like, you load up the game and the first thing is this pop-up covered in sirens and sparkles telling you that there's a double gems sale today and you get double gems in the next 12 hours for any gems you buy. And, this is, like, because they don't have all of that shit that you normally see in these free-to-play games, it doesn't have that same feel of a cheap mobile game.
Okay.
Despite the fact that they're literally running on the same metaphorical commerce engine.
Yeah.
It's the same economy behind the scenes for both of them, but one of them feels like a tacky Disney Tsum Tsum game, and the other feels like a very well-made game inspired heavily by Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, it's definitely important to note because it is a free-to-play game, so, like, obviously if you play, like, a FIFA or a Madden, you expect a certain amount of shit with fucking Ultimate Team or what have you, but it's not
right.
It's not like gonna affect you going and playing the career mode or anything. So, like, it's an integral part of the entire experience. So are there, like, in-game ads, or how does it manifest itself, like the reaching into your pockets?
It's just kind of in a making you aware of the systems and giving you the currencies, and it is lousy with in-game currencies.
Yeah.
And converting one to the other, and some in-game currencies you can only buy loot boxes a certain number of times a month with that in-game currency, but you can convert it to a different type of currency where you can buy it's like
yeah,
it's gross, but it's all like at a behind the or away from the main road layer, a couple streets away. Okay. I can't think of the right terms. I have no words today, but it's not obvious. It's not obtrusive.
Yeah, I'm not doing that thing, so that currency is irrelevant to me, right?
Right. You can keep playing, and it doesn't ever really, other than showing you the one time it takes you through, all right, now go to the store, spend the Stardust, get the thing, make a wish. The thing goes down, hey, look, you got a gigantic sword. Good for you. It doesn't, like, constantly remind you that it's there. It doesn't keep pointing you there. It's just there. They're like, if you go, you hit escape or whatever it is on console, among the many menus you're looking at, and this thing is got thousands of menus and sub-menus, because it's that style of RPG where everything is a sub-menu of a sub-menu of a sub-menu.
Yeah.
But in there is the, like, hey, look, you've got a tier 3 character with a tier 4 weapon. You know that those aren't the best you could have. And over there is the store. And there's a little red indicator on there to let you know that you have enough of a certain type of currency to buy a loot box if you want to.
So
But
it's definitely like pay to win then, obviously, if it's actual gear you're getting.
it is, but it's pay to win in the sense that the people who pay money are going to get more spins and eventually get better gear.
Yeah.
It is not that I've seen there's no way to buy specific gear.
Okay.
So it's not that level of pay to win, and I have no idea if this game has any PvP. I've not run into any.
Okay.
So it's, again, still, that doesn't make it not play to win. I think there is some co-op you can do. I haven't tried it out yet. But there's not like a ladder that I've seen where people are working their way up.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm most curious is like what your typical sort of gameplay loop looked like, because everything you're saying makes sense, but it doesn't sound fun yet. So I'm curious what a typical play session for you is.
So what's interesting about this game in my experiences with it is that I'm extremely ambivalent to it, and I'm very impressed with it and also hate it. And
okay,
there's a lot. I've
Gotcha.
had a lot of emotions. I have a child, and I have because of that, I have a limited window each day where I can play games. It's not the 8 hours it used to be, which is depressing and I hate. But, that is the reality of the world that I live in. So I only have like an hour or two an evening to play a game. And there were several evenings in a row where, because of the point in this game that I was in story missions. And there were story missions where it was go to this place, talk to this guy, then go over here and talk. And it felt like for 3 days, all I was doing was talking to people and doing no actual gameplay. And I hated it so much. But outside of that, generally, you load into the game and it just drops you wherever you last were. Like, it just, like, it instanced the whole game for you. And it just, all right, here you are, back where you were. You're fighting that same dude. And you are, again, kind of like Breath of the Wild. You're running around. There are little environmental puzzles that open chests or make chests appear. If you kill these 3 guys, or you find a way to get to the top of this tree and get that thing, or you get these 3 beacons all lit up. That kind of like semi-natural feeling puzzle that you'd see in like a Breath of the Wild or Zelda-like game.
Yeah,
a lot of
with
those,
like the Kokoros or whatever they were called.
Yes, yeah. If you swapped out the Kokoro seeds with like a chest that you're trying to open, and it's got some bits of
medallions.
Yeah, exactly. You've got little bits of loot in there. So you go around and you find these chests and you unlock them. Maybe you go back to town and pick up a quest which brings you to a dungeon. The dungeon is its own little instanced area where you go on a linear path fighting dudes, and until you get to the end, you fight the big dude at the end. Often when you're in a dungeon, it gives you like a trial of a character that you don't have yet. So you can play with them and get a feel for what their abilities are, what their play style is like, how they interact with and complement your team. Which is kind of neat and also kind of manipulative. Like, it's cool. A lot of games that I've played that are gacha games don't give you that option at all. So you could be trying to get a 5-star character, and then when you finally get it, you're like, oh, I hate this. Like, I get he's 5-star, but I don't like his play style.
Yeah.
Whereas, so you've got that, but otherwise you're just kind of running around an open world fighting stuff. It's a very chill. You're just kind of collecting stuff, upgrading and customizing in a way that feels very familiar.
I guess that makes sense, because that's like sort of the appeal to mobile games, right? Is that they're not challenging at all. Like you just do it to occupy some mind space. You're somewhere in between, like totally bored and engaged in something.
The challenge is definitely not a skill challenge. It's the challenge. It's almost like the challenge of an older RPG in the sense that there are just areas you're not going to be able to survive because you don't have your level and your equipment up to the right level. And that's just it. You're not going to make it through there. You're not going to do enough damage. You're going to hit that thing, and its life bar is not going to budge.
Yeah.
Sorry. And there's no way around that other than grinding to get to the next adventure level. It's an interesting game. As a point in gaming history, the idea that this game is free, if you had shown this game to me 5 years ago even, or 10 years, and said, hey, look at this game that you can play on your phone that's free, it would have blown my nut hair back. I would not know what to do with myself. Like, it impressed me so much how well it ran on my shitty little LG phone.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily make it a good, fun game that I want to play all the time. It's just fine.
Yeah.
It amazes me that it's made over $250 million so far, within like the first month of its release.
Yeah, that's sort of what's made it so notable. It's so profitable.
And I get it. I get how someone, especially someone who's not looking to spend $60 and buy the new Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest game.
Yeah.
Like, they're just looking for something they can get into, play for a little while, play for half an hour, 45 minutes, kill some stuff, get a little bit of gear, open a loot box, and be done.
Yeah.
Like, it's an impressive achievement conceptually. Everything about it impresses me except the part where I played it.
Well.
And I was just kind of like, oh, this is all right.
Yeah. It sounds like a lot like your flight simulator experience.
You know what? It is, in a lot of ways. In a lot of metaphorical ways, it's basically like the Microsoft Flight Simulator of high-end gacha games.
Well, it's probably high praise, but you might need to dig a few layers down.
I've not made it to the end game, but I've heard the end game gets super grindy, and like, you're gonna play a lot if you want to ever get past some of these time gates.
Yeah, well, that's like the essence of gacha too, right? Is like you start playing it in the first 5 hours, it's just dumping shit on you. It's like, wow,
it's
this is
incredible.
such a rewarding experience. How can this ever possibly change? And then it changes dramatically, and you don't get anything for the next 100 million hours of gameplay unless you pay $4.99.
Yeah, that's effectively what's going on, and I'm at the point now where I'm not opening 4 or 5 loot boxes in an evening, which is really sad because like that endorphin hit is really nice.
Yeah,
and it's really well animated. And what did I get? Oh, it's the same fucking bow I've gotten the last 4 times. Yes,
yes. Hopefully 3 more days of grinding will be more rewarding.
That part's stupid, but yeah, the rest of it is also a game.
So doesn't sound like it's for me. Would you recommend it to anyone?
Yeah, I think because it's free, I'd recommend it to a lot of people. I think there's a lot of people who would just like me be intrigued at the idea of it. And they would just get tickled at playing this game that feels like an Xbox 360 game on your phone.
Yeah, a lot like how you might introduce someone to Keno, where it's like, I don't really totally get it, but it occupies some of my time. It's not really boring or hard, but you may have a lifelong debilitating disease after 5 hours of playing it.
There's actually a lot of similarities to Keno, because I think of it like when you're on a road trip and you stop off at like a little roadside diner, and they've got Keno that you can play at your table.
Yeah.
You've ever been to one of those spots?
Oh yeah, I've 100 times.
Yeah, and so you want to play around just like, I'm playing Keno while eating a burger. This is so neat,
wacky,
and not like this is a sign of a very debilitating and manipulative and exploitative culture of gambling.
Yes, literally.
Like, this is awful, and the fact that this exists in this way is horrible and needs to be stopped. But it's so quirky. Look at me, I'm playing Keno at a little rest stop.
The one time I'm supposed to have to myself when I'm during the day is my meals, and I'm still gambling. Still.
And that's basically this. Is like, I shouldn't be trying to find a game that's like Breath of the Wild on my phone. Like, I should be okay with not having that. And the trade-off not being like, hey, I'm going to allow you to try and trick me into gambling so I can play this pretty decent Breath of the Wild game.
Yeah. They'll get you eventually. They always do. Dota got me finally, but that's another topic entirely.
So I think there's something for people to get out of this. There are definitely people that are going to enjoy this, and I know that there is a subset of people who will enjoy this without spending any money. They'll be able to just jump in, play it, and have fun, and never be bothered by it. But it is extremely insidious.
Yeah. The caveat.
I think Genshin Impact will be one of those touchstone moments when you look back at what the 2020s in gaming were.
Yeah.
And, kind of like when people look back at the loot boxes in Overwatch and they say, like, okay, when Overwatch had loot boxes, when that kind of started happening, that's when it really exploded. I think this will be a turning point as well, when companies will see, like, we put a little bit more effort into it and we make this a bit more of a higher end game on mobile, we can get regular gamers in here to spend $250 million in a month.
Yeah, sure enough. I've seen a lot of people on my friends list playing it too. People that I wouldn't think would want to play a game like that, but goes to show you.
You see the picture, it got me. You see the pictures, you see the gifs, you think, shit, that's free? That's on my phone for free? Okay. All right, I'll try it. And here we are. Here I am talking about it.
All right. Any last thoughts?
Don't play it, it's evil, but also check it out.
Andy, you have a split personality disorder or something.
Just today, though.
No, well,
just because of Genshin Impact.
Interesting. I'm glad it comes and goes. It's better than the alternative. Better than being able to deal with it properly.
Why don't you take us in a much less contentious route with Watch Dogs Legion?
Okay. Watch Dogs Legion is a game. It's a third in the series, the Watch Dogs series. It takes place post-Brexit, which is in the not too distant future, where
not a political game though, right?
Not political at all. Says their PR team, but it's very political. Yeah, it's very much in the same vein of the old games. You hack into things. You hack into cameras to view around an area, a mission zone. You hack into gadgets. You have a little robot that you can scout with, and you can disrupt people's comms that stuns them and stuff. And essentially the entire loop of the game is you going through mission zones and clearing it out and doing whatever the arbitrary objective they set in this mission zone is. This has been true of the last three, but it's been the most true in this. This game actually has maybe the least amount of things to do outside of the actual missions. You're essentially always just going into a mission zone, scouting it out, clearing it out, and then leaving. Outside of that, there's really only like mini games, which are not fun, and delivery missions, which are not fun. What I've found is that I play it very similar to how I played Watch Dogs 2. The main appeals of the game was that you could be anyone, recruit anyone you want. If they have special skills, like, get them. But the reality is there's a best set of team members. You find somebody that's really good at the thing you like doing, and then you use that. And most of those people are recruited not by actually walking around the world, but by finishing like burrows and doing like all of the quests in a burrow, and then you unlock like a super version of some class, and those are 9 times out of 10 the best class. So you didn't actually do anything to recruit them, you just did the thing you've already been doing, which is finishing missions.
That's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, as far as your teammates go, there's a couple that have like team-wide passives that I thought that was very cool. You could recruit someone and then like you never have a reason to play as them, but they're good to have on your team. They're not just sitting on the bench waiting for this perfect moment for you to need, I don't know, bees, literally bees.
No, see, don't tempt me, because now I'm interested in the game.
That is one of the cooler things they added to the game, but it's
Bees?
not practical. Yeah, you can play as a beekeeper and throw bees at people. Not throw, you sick swarms at people.
What's my Ubisoft login again? Fuck, I gotta...
It looks cool, but it's completely not practical. If you played any Watch Dogs games, the game's 1,000 times easier if you play stealthy. Basically, just roam around, knock out people. The AI's borderline fucking drooling on themselves, so it's not usually a problem. You can upgrade your little robot to be able to do takedowns, so you can literally be like a 1 foot high robot and go around just knocking off people, and nobody can see it because you're 1 foot high. People just sort of crumble to the ground, and nobody's the wiser. I found that I played as the same character 90% of the time, and it was because she was a construction worker who had one of these big construction drones. I don't know what they're called. They're cargo drones. So they're used for lifting cargo. You can ride them around town very slowly, but it was way better than fast traveling and then stealing a car and going around. I would just slowly hover across London, and then when I got to the point, I'd go up really high, throw my spider bot into the zone. Spider bot would knock out everyone, and then depending on the mission, I would either have to get off of the cargo drone and finish the objective, or in a lot of cases, the robot could finish the mission on its own, and I literally never had to get off my cargo drone, and then I would just slowly hover to the next mission.
This sounds like a problem I've had in a lot of Ubisoft games, where you can find a way of playing the game that is just so overpowered, there's never a reason to not do it.
There's no reason not to play this game like that, unless like you want to try out the other things, which I did temporarily, but then it would be like tangibly slower. Like I really wanted to enjoy playing as a hitman because it's like, oh, you can take down 2 people at once, and like you're choking them out, and it's not this like non-lethal bullshit. Like you're literally killing these people. It's crazy, but it wasn't fun. You're just slowly like hunched over, running around in a zone, just like you are with any other character. He's not any more agile. He's just a better murderer. But still not as good as your spider bot. So it doesn't matter.
Is it just a power fantasy game, like a Just Cause, where like you're not really supposed to lose ever? You're supposed to feel kind of like a god?
I don't think it's built for that, but you definitely feel like that when you're killing everything with your drone stealthily, and you're like, well, this entire zone's done. I can just saunter in. And honestly, like that's most of how I played Watch Dogs 2. Like I'm playing it the exact same way because it was definitely the most efficient way in Watch Dogs 2, and they sort of upped the ante by making the tiny robot way better. So, there you go.
Huh, okay, well, all right.
Yeah, other quick hits, crashed constantly, really buggy game. The lip syncing was totally fucked when I was playing it on 1X, but seemed to resolved itself on the Series X. I don't know why that was.
I had heard some people saying that this felt like it wasn't done, especially with the fact that some features are being promised for down the line, like I think co-op.
Yeah, it's not done. Online's supposed to be out in December. There's a 0% chance they're making that milestone. I'd bet money on it. I'd bet my firstborn on it, because the game's not done. The game's not done. I'll jump ahead a little bit here and say I wouldn't recommend it to anyone because you're probably going to get a better game in 3 to 6 months. So don't buy it now, period.
Well, that's pretty straightforward. That's a pretty easy to read recommendation.
There you go. Yeah, the hacking was more janky than it's ever been because I'd be going around on my spider bot doing things, and then I'd accidentally I'd be trying to hack a person, but it would retarget to like a camera, and then when you hijack a camera, you leave the spider bot, and then suddenly it's just you're trying to re-find it on this map, and it's this tiny little thing, so you're like, fucking, where is it? Where is it? And then somebody finds it and kills it, and then you have to wait 45 seconds for it to come back off cooldown instead of keeping a spare or something.
Right. Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
The voices never fit the characters, and like that may be a little bit of a stereotype. But when I was playing the Hitman, who was just like this serious looking white dude with a goatee, he sounded like sounded like a townie. It was like really off putting. So he had like a full suit on and a beanie. He'd be like, "Yo, what's up, brother? You doing, mate?" And it's like, like I don't like this.
I'm so glad that we got you to do an accent. I'm so happy about that right now.
Yeah, that was my Cockney white guy. I guess
it was spot on. There's no Dick Van Dyke there at all. That was spot on.
Okay, well, I'll take that. There are some cool things about the game. They did a good job with like the talking heads at the end of like story missions. You'd see like different members of your team who would be playable characters. They'd be spouting off their input on the missions. So it's like, oh, hey, you're part of my team. I play as you sometimes. It's cool to hear you talking while I'm not playing you.
I remember way back when this game was originally renounced.
Renounced? I'm renouncing it.
Back when they originally announced this, and you and I watched a preview of it in one of the events, we talked about it. You were concerned how they were going to get a story to work without an actual central character.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to whether or not you think they pulled it off based on your original concerns.
The story's dog shit.
Okay.
The story there's no cohesive story whatsoever. It's mostly centered around this one exiled hacker. That's sort of how they try and tie it together. So she's basically just barking orders to you, and then you playing whoever you are reads the same dialogue line, recorded, maybe 8 different times by 8 different voice actors, and it's just like any other Ubisoft game. You don't really know why you're doing what you're doing. Like, they explain it, but you gets purged from your mind immediately because it was so pointless or inane that you're like, well, whatever. I'm going to do it anyway, so off I go. But yeah, like the story, the political aspect of it is basically like security firm is forced their way in and become more powerful than the local government, more powerful than the police, more powerful than the military, and they're just doing whatever they want. They're torturing people, they're killing people in cold blood, and like you're the hacker group. You're trying to out them basically, but not everyone listens or cares.
So, not really all that interesting. Granted, not that Ubisoft games have had the most amazing plots in the last decade, but
yeah, it just doesn't go anywhere. It's very cookie cutter. Like, oh, there's more things than you know. There's other people involved, and none of it's a surprise whatsoever. Like, there's no shocking turns of events. Like, you get a couple allies along the way, and then they do most of the heavy lifting character development wise, but it doesn't pay off at all because they end up just becoming talking heads in the corner of your screen, not integral to the gameplay experience whatsoever.
Well, that is disappointing.
Yeah. That was I never believed that they'd get the story there, but I thought they'd finally figure out the gameplay because it looked like they were starting to get there. And there really are some good ideas, but the reality is they don't build the game out to take advantage of the character designs that they've built and all these cool templates and things like the paintball wielding guys and the beekeeper and all this shit. Like, it's all pointless because you can play it all as any hero with this starter gadget and you'll be just fine.
So one of those very wide, shallow pools.
That's exactly right. It's the best way to describe it. That's
really disappointing because I was sure after Watch Dogs 2 they weren't going to make any more. That was it. Like, yeah. They just that was the end of the series. And when they announced 3 and they announced this kind of jumping around, it sounded like there could be some cool stuff in there, and it's disappointing to find out that there isn't.
Yeah, and like, to be clear, yeah, Watch Dogs 2 is definitely the high point in the franchise by a long shot. I was someone that was this Watch Dogs 1 got announced in the 360 generation, and I was super excited for it. I was like, oh, this is it. This is the fucking future, man. And it's still maybe the most disappointing game I've ever played because I was so excited for it. So, yeah, it's kind of come full circle where they just somehow continue to disappoint me. I don't know how, because I thought Watch Dogs 2 was a great game. I think that delivered on most of the promises of the franchise, better than, far better than the first one, and even better than this one. So they hand that game out. You can get it for free most of the time. You can get it for like $5 sometimes. Play Watch Dogs 2. Watch Dogs Legion, maybe check it out. It's fucking beautiful. It's gonna push the new gen hardware. It looks great on PC. I'm sure if you got a high end PC, it's a pretty game. Don't buy it now. Don't spend $60 on it like I did.
Do you think that they'll be able to, like? Does it seem like it's salvageable? Like in 6 months, it will be a better game. Like they can actually save it.
The core game, I don't think so. I think if they put a tremendous amount of resources into like an expansion and like really evolved on what they did, I'd be curious about the gameplay in that. But like I said, the gameplay loop is just, it's lame. Like going in and clearing out a mission zone and then getting in the objective in the mission zone. Like that's every single thing you do in this game. Everything.
That's kind of disappointing because I was thinking back to Watch Dogs 2 and thinking that there was some repetition in that game. So to hear that this is even more repetitive is just...
Yeah.
That hurts. It doesn't feel good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Watch Dogs 2 did a good job of like breaking it up because they'd have a bunch of different threads and it didn't pressure you to do any single thread at one time. So, and each of these threads you'd have a mission that maybe like drive around, do this, it wouldn't necessarily be, and then it would usually culminate in going into a mission zone, clearing it out, and beating the shit out of somebody. Right. Something like that. But like there was a lot of different ways to get to that point. That's quite the opposite in this game.
Well, that is disappointing.
Yeah, I'd say it's a disappointment, but I didn't have high hopes for it, just based on the trailers. I mean, like I said, I love Watch Dogs 2, so I really hoped they would get their shit together, but yeah, they shot for the stars and they, didn't even pull the bow all the way back.
Do you have any final thoughts other than what you just said?
No, I think I jackhammered it pretty good.
You sure did.
Yeah, that's what we call a pummeling. Good old fashioned PML.
So, do you want to figure out where you're going to put that on your list there?
Oh, should look at the list. Yeah, number 12, right above Drake Hollow, and right behind Final Fantasy VII Remake. To be clear, these last 3 games on my list are basically what I consider unplayable, so it's right above unplayable.
Even though it was a lot of bugs.
Yeah, there were a tremendous amount of bugs, but it never was like I couldn't finish a mission or something. It was mostly like the game crashed 4 times on me, I think. Like that's too many times. It's frustrating, but I'd get back in, like the mission would work, the autosave worked, unlike Drake Hollow, where I could literally not play the game anymore because it lost several hours of progress. So it functioned, but it was janky. Like it was like unintentionally janky. Where are you putting Genshin Impact?
I am putting Genshin Impact at number 11, right above Microsoft Flight Simulator, which you made that astute comparison with.
They're basically the same game. Why not make them both 11?
Because at this point, Flight Simulator, I would go to an area and I had immediately no idea what I should do. And I'd just be bored of it and want to just find a new area and be done. Genshin Impact, I at least found myself falling into loops.
Fair enough.
It was still the same dirty loop, but at least I didn't feel time just slowly dripping away.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Do we have any sponsors this week, Andy?
Sure. Why not? This podcast This podcast is made possible by Slotsy. Slotsy is the absolute easiest way to play with dice. I've played them many times. I've played dice. This is bad copy. I didn't really have time or need to play dice, so I just spent about 15 minutes throwing together a dice game Oh, that doesn't sound good. It was incredibly easy with Slotsy, in my opinion.
Building a game? What? You built the game?
Look, clearly, swapping out the word Squarespace for the word Slotsy doesn't work. This ad copy has taught us that. So, instead, play Slotsy on Google Play. Play it a lot so I don't ever have to read copy like that again.
There you go. We'll pay someone else to read the copy if you play Slotsy. Well, where can they find us, Andy?
You can check us out on the internet at... Oh, God, I can't remember any of our fucking socials.
Are you unwell? we're not really that active on socials, so if you want the latest, follow us on Twitter and Facebook. But primarily just follow us wherever you're listening to this right now. Follow the stream, follow the RSS, fucking like the videos. Tell us why you don't like them. Like, feedback's swell. I like feedback. I don't know about you.
Go on iTunes and give us some feedback, some reviews. Give us good reviews, like 5 stars. But just like get out there. It doesn't cost anything. It doesn't cost anything to let us know what you think.
Yeah. It'll cost us something. A little piece of our humanity dies every time we're judged. So you could kill us. You could.
And if that's something that you're into, send us some feedback.
There you go. All right, get us out of here. Get us out of here.
Do I just say bye?
You do. Bye, everyone. Bye.